Hello, I'm Tanzim, and today you're here as part of the introduction to research methods in collaboration with MCPSC ICT Club along with Project Q2. Get started. So at first, who the hell am I? Yeah, you can see me. That's me over here at TEDx. Yeah, pretty neat. Uh, Over the past 2 years, I've published in Sprinter Q2 Journal, which is like a pretty prestigious journal for publishing research. Like professors publish there and they're like, "Yo, I've done something." Like it's pretty prestigious even for professors and faculty members, if you get what I mean. And then presented research internationally, from which I mean I presented my recent paper going to Singapore uh, at, a, at a university named Nanyang Tech University and presented it there in front of all the faculty members and etc. Haven't haven't have been able to impact over 2,000 people around the world through the organization you're seeing right over here, Project Q2. But I just want to point out that all of the things I've done, like I've done a couple of few more things, got scholarships to paid programs, like didn't pay a penny, and all that kind of shit. But it's not about talent. It's not that you have to be a genius. It's just that you need to start. And for me, it started with one research question, one paper, and within 2 years, I've done a few things. And I just want to point out that to do research, at first you wanna be sure that you do not need to be talented. You do not need that. Yeah, I know I'm really good at drawing, so yeah, just ignore that. Anyway, so that's it, and next slide. So at first, if you're in this workshop, you want to know what research is, how you're supposed to do it, and like why should you even do research. I'm going to go into that later, but at first, I want to point out that you're using research already in every aspect of your lives. Yeah, like, so at first I'm going to give you an overview, and then I'm going to help you run it down with a real life example. So at first you gotta have a problem, then you gotta review literature, which is just a fancy word. Yeah, it's just this thing over here is just a fancy word for like you just investigated on whatever existing knowledge or work there is, right? It's nothing too complicated. It's just that, say there were a few books, and before you had a question, you read those books, so you're sure that this question is a unique question that cannot be answered from reading those books. Okay, so you see that, hey, you don't need, your book doesn't have the answer to the problem you have. All right, that means you need to have a new solution. You need to invent a solution. All right, then you're gonna develop methodology. And now you're like, hey, Tanzim, what the hell is methodology? Um, it's another fancy word. Yeah, research has a lot of fancy words to like intimidate people. So what this means is just, so let's say you're gonna invent something, right? You need to invent something. So you know, like, hey, to invent something, I need to do something. Okay, you know what? It's gonna be more clear when I give you an example, but bear with me. Which is, the methodology is basically the experiment you're gonna do, because like you have a problem, you need a solution, right? To have a solution, you need to do something in between, like an experiment. And when you're designing that experiment, like just writing it down on paper, for example, that is you developing the methodology. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm going to run down with an example later on. And then we have analyze data, which is basically just, hey, you have an experiment, which means you develop the methodology. So now you got some data from the experiment, right? Let's say any experiment, now you get a yes or no, that yes or no, or any number, any information you get from running your experiment, that's your data. And then you get a conclusion that you had this problem and now you have an answer. And that's the conclusion, that's the answer to my problem. Now let me give you an example. That's because like all of this is a bit too theoretical. Okay, so think you live in a joint family. You live in a joint family, yeah. and you love sandwiches. That's what you eat, and you can't survive without it. And when somebody takes your meals, you hate it, all right? You absolutely loathe people who take your sandwiches. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, yeah. Okay. So you hate people who like don't let you eat sandwiches. Yeah, it's weird, but bear with me. So what is happening is one day you're here for a meal, and okay, so in this house they can only give you one meal, and so you when you come to your house, you're supposed to eat. You look at your plate, and you see that there is no sandwich, and you ask people, and you see that they did make you a sandwich, and the problem, the problem is that somebody ate your sandwich. That's a problem, isn't it? Because you hate not having a sandwich. Okay, you have a problem now. And right now, you need to like ask people that, hey, who the hell ate my sandwich? That's the problem. Who the hell ate my sandwich, or what is the problem? Is there an answer to the problem? Okay, so we're going to review literature. Now, let me tell you something. Literature, by literature, if you've heard of English literature, you might think of only documents or things we are writing, but it can also be, I don't know, like you can ask people, and that's called primary data. So, asking people and getting data from the existing knowledge base, which is, I'm getting fancy, but just getting something from people what you already know, what is already known, that's just reviewing literature. Be it asking people, reading newspapers, or just reading research papers, all of that is reviewing literature. So you have the problem. Somebody ate your sandwich. You now need a solution. You ask your parents, ask everyone in the joint family that who ate the sandwich, and of course they say no. But if they said, "Hey, XYZ ate your sandwich," then your problem is solved, and you do not need to go to the other steps. These are not needed at all. Yeah, yeah. So you got the problem solution is in the literature. But now, in our case, everybody's a liar. They're not gonna tell you that, hey, somebody XYZ ate that sandwich. So you need to find the culprit. That's what you want to do. So to do that, you need to develop a methodology. Try to remember what methodology is. It's basically designing an experiment. An experiment, yeah. So why would you want an experiment? In our case, we want a trap. A trap to catch the culprit. Okay, we want to catch the culprit. Why? Why do you want to catch the culprit? We want to catch the culprit because that's our problem. If we can identify who's the culprit, we will not have that problem. Okay, now, now we don't, um, yeah. So now, okay, let's ignore the fact that, okay, now we're gonna look at the methodology. I mean, develop a trap, develop an experiment, or develop a methodology. All of these are synonymous, same shit. And now we're gonna analyze the data. So what's the trap? What can be the trap? So you wanna this time you take a plate of of that sandwich and repeat the same thing. You come home late to ensure that somebody who ate your sandwich will do it again. That's your experiment. So you take a paper, you write it down that hey, the plate's gonna be white, etc., etc., etc. So like you can later read it on. Okay, that's you developing the methodology. Now, what was the trap? The trap was you have a plate, you have a sandwich, and you have a hidden camera. That camera is gonna tell you who is the culprit, who's the one who ate your sandwich. And now you've done that. One day later, you look at the video and you're shocked to find that it's your 3-year-old little sister. And yeah, to tell you, this actually happened with me and I actually did this, so I mean, yeah, little kids can be quite shocking. All right, let's ignore that. But we had the methodology, which was the trap, and we found the video. The video is our data because that's the information. That is the information that tells us that, hey, this is the culprit. That's the data. That's the information we want. that comes after the methodology. The information we get from the methodology or the information we get from the experiment. Okay, now we have a conclusion that if I can keep my food away from my sister or somehow not let my sister know, then I will not have this problem anymore. There you go, the problem is solved, and that is the research cycle. And in real life, even more complicated ones, that is exactly how it goes. You have a problem, you review it from people, from research papers, to see if there are already any answers to your problem. And then, if there aren't any answers, what you're gonna do is you're gonna develop a methodology, develop an experiment. Why are you gonna develop an experiment? You're gonna develop an experiment because you want information that can help you draw a conclusion so you can solve the problem once and for all. Is that clear?